Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Chinwag once again. Back in May, I was stood over there and I saw this geezer chatting to my youngest son who at the time was 9. And I wandered over and I said, "Oh, who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I met a Dean Kavanagh." Everybody's met a Dean Kavanagh who comes here. Dean's over there. He's here next week, actually, showing a film that he wrote with Irving Welsh. Next Wednesday night, come down. Keep it down, Craig. Sorry. And I wandered over and I said, "Oh, you know, a friend of Dean's." I was like, "Okay, great. Is this your lad?" "Yeah." We got chatting and I said, "What do you do?" He said, I take photos." I said, "All right, nice one." Always really up for seeing some nice photography. And you gave me a card, and I looked at it, and I immediately had my mind blown because there's a picture of Primal Scream, and for me there's one picture of Primal Scream, which was on the cover of Rocks, and I didn't tell you this at the time. I was thinking about this a few weeks ago when I started looking at these images. The impression that I had the first time I ever saw that picture of Primal Scream, and it's one where they all look really fucked.
Acting, wasn't
Was it was shot in Mexico, or that it was on a rooftop, and it was in, I don't know why, but that's what it said to me. And
that picture?
Yeah, where was it that?
No, it was in New York, and it was just after they'd come off stage, and there's a sort of series of pictures. There's not only that, they start also playing air guitar, or playing a gig, a full set of air guitar. And you couldn't stop them. I mean, it was like Springsteen length. They just like crack on. They were in their own world, yeah, I mean, to be fair. But it's the Ritz, New York, 1992 on the Screamadelica tour.
Because we were having this chat on the phone a few weeks ago, and I was saying, you know, you were quite a big part of that album, weren't you?
Yes, from the point of, I guess, from the start of it, the actual artwork itself. I'd taken pictures of a painting that Paul Cannell, God rest his soul, had made, very psychedelic painting, and I kind of zoned in on some different aspects in the painting, and one of them was that face, and then that was kind of adapted through Creations sort of art department, and yeah, there's a few people kind of contributed to it becoming that sort of primary colour, some face that we all sort of know and love. But so about sort of 5-6 people involved. I actually did myself out of the cover of the album because a number of my shots were up for the front cover, and I was also doing merchandising for the band at the time, and I'd already gone for that image as a T-shirt. So even before the album itself was out, that was on a T-shirt. And Alan McGee turned up, and we were going to have this conversation with Bobby and Alan and myself over these sort of number of pictures. And he came to the T-shirt store and he went, "That's the cover." And I actually done myself out of the cover by, you know, selling a T-shirt first. But anyway, I got the gatefold sleeve, so you know that's enough. But also, I was working, you know, at Creation when it then came out. It sort of all gets kind of crossed up really, because then I became their photographer through that, but through meeting them through Alan. And it was just right at the moment, and being in that sort of right place at the right time. Yeah. You know, it absolutely exploded, obviously.
Well, I wondered when I started looking at this, I had no idea that this set of images and this story went with that, and I kind of almost wonder if by osmosis, looking at that Scream picture and I genuinely have always believed that was taken on a rooftop in Mexico. Several years before that, though, there's this story going on, and that, I mean...
Didn't you see the door in it?
No, I need to go back and, you know, because I've maintained that. And I love that about photography, that, you know, a person can see something and tell a story, like you're doing with these. I mean,
okay,
well, a story.
I mean, with these anyway, just in terms of the time, that's sort of a couple of years before that, and it kind of does lead on to it, because I came back from that trip a little kind of, I guess, sort of photoed out, because it was quite intense for 3 months during that journey, and I saw some kind of heavy stuff, but I came back and walked straight into Acid House in East London, and my mates, you know, organising parties, and I kind of didn't pick up a camera for probably 2 years.
Right.
But fell, you know, full into that, as many people did, and had a wonderful time. Through that, I met Alan, and then through Alan, I met Bobby and Andrew, and went off to Japan with them to kind of more as an A&R role, and took some pictures just because it was my first time there, which they then liked, and then it kind of just went on from there. So, you know, yeah, everything's connected, of course, but it was weird that I never really took any pictures from that point coming back to those in Tokyo with Bobby, and that was like 2 years gap, and yet I'd shot thousands of images sort of up till that point.
My understanding is that it was your love of the Clash and your love of photography, and you saw that film at Salvador, the Oliver Stone one with James Woods in it. Anybody seen that film? An amazing film, a point of inspiration for you?
It was a dual thing, really. It was Sandinista, the Clash, that in a way politicised me in some sense, or, you know, certainly I learnt about Nicaragua. That,
I think it did for a lot of people.
Yeah. And maybe other Clash albums, or other punk albums, you know. It was just that time. It turned on to new ideas. Always had a kind of, I don't know, an attraction to Latin America, and so marrying that together, okay, I got an interest. I got involved in the sort of political, the activism of it, and then developing sort of interest in photography. And I'd been in a band prior to this myself.
Which band?
Laws in the New Church was the most kind of known band, but I'd been in a few bands. I've been in a mod band and a punk band, you know, so you say 10 years from, you know, from punk, from leaving school. And then that band splitting up and then flipping into photography. And this being something that I was involved with in London in terms of activism. And at a point where I could have, I guess, joined, there was talk of joining Billy Idol's band at that time. And he was sort of going, you know, global, absolutely massive at that point. But I'd already sort of toured the world, and I sort of achieved a certain level, and I wasn't a writer, so it would have been just kind of travelling around the world, getting drunk and, you know, getting drunker, which is all right, and it's fun, but sort of when you've done it once, okay, is it as good the next time? Yeah, maybe, and people spend a whole lifetime doing it. But there was something else that kind of was not only interesting me, but drawing me, and it was photography, and it was political activism. And so this was the opportunity when the band did split up to sort of say, well, I carry on down that road and just become a, you know, drug head or whatever, or try this out and see. And so this was the test that I set myself, and kind of really driven home by seeing Salvador. And you know, it's kind of romantic ideal of a journalist or a photojournalist going down to Central America and covering that same conflict. But I walked out of the cinema with a mate of mine in Tottenham Court Road, and I said, I'm going there. And he went, you're mental, what are you talking about? And I said, no, I'm going there, and I'm going there soon. And I just found whatever job I could to get the money together to just go. And I got like 30 rolls of film together, and off I went. It's, if you are drawn to something, then you do have a choice. It's like, well, do I go for it, do I not? And I did want to kind of know if I could take pictures in that environment. And you know, I knew about it, but I also didn't want to just go to Nicaragua and just go to what you would say were safe zones in a sense, because you know, the socialist revolution, what's happening there, and I could have quite easily just gone and sort of been part of that. And the conflict was around that. But because I was interested in the sort of the politics of the region, and you know, in some countries around it, it was completely the opposite and right-wing dictatorship. So I just thought I'd travel through each country to get a sense of, you know, maybe why the revolution in Nicaragua was so good, because I believed it was so good. But why? Because this is so bad, you know. But unless you kind of touched it, even if it was for a number of days or a week, then how would you know?